If you aren't offended by the horrific deluge of negative ads on TV during the election cycle, then you either are sleeping through your commercial breaks or, like me, you don't own a TV. I don't own a TV and I'm offended. It's horrible. It's got to change. And a change is moving through the Iowa Senate as we speak. We're going to talk with Adam Mason about efforts to clean up money in politics. Also, later in the program, once he gets out of bed, Bradshaw is going to join me and we're going to talk about the State of the Union.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Ed Fallon here, folks. Gateway Market and Cafe is your locally owned source for specialty groceries. Enjoy chef-crafted, prepared foods, artisan baked goods, organic produce, specialty cheeses, and hand-selected wines and craft beer. Visit the lively cafe for breakfast, lunch, or dinner 7 days a week. Gateway Market is centrally located on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway and Woodland Ave. Stop by or visit www.gatewaymarket.com for more details. That's Gateway Market, folks. Good food, great community.
This moment of silence brought to you by Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering, home of Des Moines' premier rooftop dining experience. Located in the heart of Beaverdale, Tally's offers speedy and affordable rooftop lunch, catering for events both large and small, innovative cuisine, as well as vegetarian and gluten-free menus. Come to Tally's for live music, dry-aged steaks, Sunday brunch, and all-you-can-eat ribs every Monday night. Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering at 2712 Beaver Avenue. Call 279-2067. That's 279-2067.
On March 28th, Equal Justice After Hours is Iowa Legal Aid's annual fundraiser that helps provide access to justice for low-income Iowans. The event includes a reception and program at the Temple for the Performing Arts in Des Moines. It also includes remarks by Georgetown University law professor Peter Edelman and the induction of Robert Oberbilly into the Iowa Legal Aid Hall of Fame. Tickets start at $50 and sponsorship opportunities are available. Contact Terry Bennett at tbennett@iowalaw.org. That's tbennett@iowalaw.org.
Times are tough, and most people are just trying to make their cars last a little bit longer. That's why you should know about Sargent's Garage in Des Moines. You can trust Sargent's to make the right diagnosis and give you a fair price. Whether it's a routine oil change or a major repair, Sargent's always does outstanding work. So don't give up on that old car just yet. Call Sargent's Garage at 246-8149. That's 246-8149 for Sargent's Garage. I'm a burrito.
I'm a fighting burrito, full of fresh ingredients prepared before your very eyes.
I don't have eyes.
I have over 28 options and 268 million combinations, including Rizo for vegetarians.
I can take my meat off and call myself vegetarian.
Put that back on. The Fighting Burrito is locally owned.
I'm owned by some big corporation somewhere. Say, you want to go on a date?
No thanks. I'm seeing a quesadilla.
The Fighting Burrito online, fightingburrito.com. Join the fight.
I love driving to Newton to see the races.
Me too, but I only have to drive across town.
You live in Newton?
Yep, Newton's got small town charm and it's close to Des Moines. I love the safe, friendly neighborhoods and family-owned businesses. And Newton's wind energy industry is really taking off.
How'd you find your home?
Dan Kelly with First Choice Realty. And Dan helped me find my office too.
Next time, instead of just speeding by, I'll stop in and check out Newton.
Why don't you check out Newton? Call Dan Kelly at 641-521-9260 or Dan Kelly at mchsi.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I see you're already starting to call and we haven't even started the show yet. I guess that's a good sign. 244-0077 if you'd like to be a part of the conversation today. 244-0077 or toll free, it's 855-244-0077. And if you are the shy and reserved kind of audience member, you're welcome to email me and I will relay your comments to our guest and respond accordingly. That address is fallonforum@gmail.com. I do want to thank Brother Trucker for their tune Downtown kicking this show off. And I want to thank the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club and also Iowa Physicians for Social Responsibility for sponsoring the Fallon Forum, and for Gateway Market and Cafe for sponsoring this segment of our show. In a few moments, we're going to join Adam Mason here with Iowa CCI and talk about money in politics. Later in the program, Bradshaw is going to be with me. We're going to talk about the State of the Union. But looking ahead, real quick, I got the the usual stuff happening. Well, actually, no, not the usual stuff happening tomorrow. Usually Dan Kelly is in with me on Thursdays. He's not going to make it tomorrow, but Mary Beth Gardam is going to talk with us about the Move to Amend campaign. That kind of relates very well with what we're talking about today with Adam Mason. And then Nikisha Phillips is going to join me for, which is, I think, a kind of a fun segment to talk about her journey through pregnancy. She and her husband are doing this with a doula and a midwife. And I think tomorrow Nikisha wants to focus on the difference between those two. Anyway, we've got that coming up tomorrow. And then Friday, it's time, I've had it up to here with this Charles Goldman fellow. He and I are always getting along and just talking about, talking on the same page of the issue. Well, I'm sick of that. We're going to have a good conversation on Friday that will revolve around the whole issue of media. Do we need to regulate violence in the media as part of the whole national concern about gun violence? And on that subject, again, always looking for a great letter to the editor, and there are sometimes several. The one in today's paper that caught my attention is titled, and we're surprised by the mass shootings. And Lonnie Bartels from Urbandale writes, among the top grossing movies last week were Warm Bodies, Zero Dark 30, Argo, Django Unchained, and appropriately named Bullet to the Head. And we wonder why lunatics shoot up schools and theaters. I agree. Charles doesn't. It should be a good conversation. Following my, I know you're probably sick of me droning on about corporate welfare, but until it ends, I'm going to drone on about it because it is just downright wrong. I've been talking this week about Principal Financial Group's efforts to extract some money from the local and state taxpayers. I mean, they're all the same taxpayers. Some, we pay into one pot, a different pot. Principal has its hands in both pots. And we're going to talk more about that. I did notice, by the way, that the person in charge of media relations at Principal's signed up to get my emails. So welcome aboard. Good to have you. Keep an eye on me. You never know what I'm going to say. It could be crazy. I could land myself another lawsuit. I don't try to do that, but I just try to speak what's on my mind. Anyway, speaking what's on my mind, Lee County, I've talked about how the fertilizer plant down there got $251 million in public money. Well, they got a little bit more the other day. They are receiving a transportation grant from the Iowa DOT of up to almost $5 million to, quote, improve roads going into this fertilizer plant. I wish I could get some money for the road in front of my house. I mean, the alley behind it is just horrible. It's just potholes everywhere. It's so bad I can't even take my bike out there. Why is it that we can take $5 million of public money, and pump it into one company's road project? I don't get it. I don't get why more people aren't outraged. Anyway, speaking of outrage, American flag. All right, we all love the flag. At least most people I know love the flag. Maybe you won't love the fact that this one is made in China. I don't know why we are still making flags in China, folks. Even Apple is coming home to do some production here. The last thing I would call to your attention, full page ad in the Register. These puppies got to cost $7 to $10 grand at least. It could be more than that. It surprised me. These are all good organizations: the Sierra Club, Greenpeace, Earthworks, DFA, that's Democracy for America, 350.org. It's a letter to Governor Cuomo. America is looking to you. Stand up for people over pollution. Don't allow a single fracked, I guess that's the word now, fracked shale gas well in New York. I don't know, maybe they're getting the Times mixed up with the Register these days. I don't know why this is in the Des Moines Register. But I guess, more power to them if they can raise that kind of money and spend it here in Iowa so we can lobby Governor Cuomo. Anyway, enough of that. Let's talk about money. Because no matter how much those good guys have to spend, they ain't even going to come close to what the bad guys and gals have to spend. And that's been a problem. We've seen it on the TV this recent election cycle. Worse than ever. The negative ads, horrible. In fact, the congressional district race here in central Iowa, Latham versus Boswell, of 435 races nationwide for Congress, this one was deemed the least edifying. In other words, the ads were so bad. They told you so little about what either candidate really stood for. They talked so little about real issues. They were so focused on negative stuff and on maligning the other candidate, on trying to tear him down, that it won the award as the least edifying race. So, again, a lot of the problem there, well, we have two candidates that neither one is really a great congressman, in my opinion. But we also have way too much money involved. And here to talk about that with me is Adam Mason with Iowa CCI. Yeah, money flowing out like you wouldn't believe it in campaigns these days.
That's right. Over $8 billion spent nationwide by candidates, political action committees, and outside groups, millionaires, billionaires, and big corporations getting in on the campaign fund this time, Ed.
Yeah. Campaign fun.
Exactly.
Yeah, their fun, our misery. I mean, I don't know anybody who's not offended by the advertising.
Right. And I think that, what we see during the campaign cycle, those attack ads, that fuels our cynicism and really our distrust of elected officials to know that they're doing what's right for everyday folks. That's why we see, approval ratings for Congress at about 11%.
Lower than the percentage of people who care about whether America becomes a communist nation.
Exactly.
That's bad. When you poll worse than communism, you're doing bad.
That's right. So, we feel that that's a big reason of that is because elected officials all too often are working on behalf of big moneyed interests. When poll after poll shows that everyday Americans, everyday Iowans support a certain issue, but then we're forced to watch partisan politics stretch those issues out over months, even years.
Come on, years, yeah.
Exactly. Something's got to change, and we think it's the money.
So what is going to change? We have something on the table, something moving forward. What is it?
Yes, we do. Here in Iowa, it's called voter-owned Iowa Clean Elections. It's modeled after systems that are already working in 7 other states: Maine, Arizona, Connecticut, and right now New York is
Maine and Arizona have had it for a while. Connecticut also for a good while.
Yes,
and the other states that more recently came on board.
Well, that have either partial public financing or that have cities within their jurisdiction that use the public financing system too.
So cities actually have decided on their own they can do that.
Yes, indeed. Portland
really?
Is one of them.
Oregon or Maine?
Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
And I'm blanking right now, but New Mexico, Albuquerque, New Mexico has public financing for citywide elections. So it works at every level. The gist is that when a candidate agrees not to take big money dollars from special interest groups, that they qualify for a limited amount of public funds to run their campaign. Now, obviously, the big concern is, can they compete with the big dogs? Right. We believe they can. And what we've seen in Arizona and Maine especially, now Connecticut, and hopefully in New York, is that voters recognize that an elected official or a candidate who's willing to use a limited amount of public funds is going to be more responsive to the electorate, to everyday folks. Yeah. They're not working for those big corporations for special interests that have been donating the millions and billions of dollars to their campaigns.
Okay, now enter the cynic in me, okay? Here I am. I mean, I fought for that for 14 years. I didn't expect it to go anywhere because Republicans controlled the House, and they were pretty opposed to any kind of campaign finance reform. Back in the 80s, Democrats controlled the Senate and House and passed campaign finance reform at least 2, possibly 3 times.
That's right.
Including with Mike Gronstal in the Senate at the time. Governor Branstad, remember him?
Yeah, okay. I sure do.
Yeah. Well, he
didn't go away.
He was probably. Were you born when he was governor?
Yes, I was.
You were, okay. So, but
you're dating me now.
Yeah, Dave. But Barry, I mean, the guy's been around forever. But yeah, he vetoed campaign finance reform legislation a couple and a half decades ago.
That's right.
Or almost 3 decades ago, really. So right now, we have a bill moving through the Senate. And I think that's good that the Democrats in the Senate are moving it forward, probably because we have Pam Yoakum now, who's the president. But the if you look at the 4 years previous, when we had Democrats controlling the Senate, the House, and the governor's office, they did nothing on campaign finance. So is this a sincere effort on their part? I mean, is Pam on her own on this? Does she have other Senate leadership, Democrats in leadership behind her? What do you think?
That's a great question, Ed. And yeah, we definitely have to recognize that in 2007, 2008, the last time we made a very serious push to win clean elections here in Iowa, that we were running up against leadership in the Senate and in the House who were resistant to clean elections. Their thinking was, it was money that won the elections for us to get us here this time. Why would we change the system? I think what's changed since then is, Citizens United. And I know Mary Beth's going to be on tomorrow. You can talk more about that.
Yeah.
Obviously, clean elections doesn't fix everything.
It's the ruling that totally opened the spigot for corporate money.
Exactly. And that's why we've seen the huge explosion. I think the time is right with the approval ratings of elected officials that we talked about just a second ago. And folks just get it, that this kind of money doesn't come from everyday folks.
Okay. And so again, a review, the bill number is what?
is Senate Study Bill 1072
1072.
and House File 43. We also have a companion bill in the House.
Who's the House sponsor?
Bruce Hunter and several other House Democrats have made sure that was introduced, but we are starting to move it in the Senate. The reason there being is that we do have favorable leadership there. Senator Joe Bolkin from Iowa City is the whip, and Senator Danielson from Cedar Falls is the state government chair.
Right.
Senator Danielson is somebody who wasn't necessarily on board with clean elections 4 years ago, but really has just seen the explosion because of Citizens United and wants to do something about it.
So that's three key people. You got the Senate President, Pam Yoakum. You got the chair of the state government committee, Danielson. And you've got the majority whip, Bolcom. Three key people who are behind clean elections, behind campaign finance reform legislation. You've got Gronstal, who has been against it.
Right.
Even though he voted for it back in the 80s. He's against it now because he's got real good at raising money from corporate sources. So is there enough, depth within the rest of leadership to move this, onto the floor for a vote, despite his? I'm presuming he's still opposed. Maybe he's changed. I don't know.
Well, that's something we're going to have to continue working on. Is definitely finding out where Senator Gronstal's at and working on him to bring it to the floor for a vote. Obviously, with, as you mentioned, Governor Branstad likely would veto it if it ever made it to his desk. A House led by Republicans isn't favorable to this kind of campaign finance reform, but it's definitely an education process. If we can start moving Senator Gronstal now, hopefully in 2 years when we have a different governor, we'd be able to put a bill on his desk.
And again, if it passes the Senate, if the Senate voted for a major piece of campaign finance reform legislation, that would be the first time such legislation passed either chamber in about 25 years.
That's exactly right.
That's significant. That shows momentum. Again, I think we have to be realistic. The House is not going to pass this.
Right.
Governor is not going to sign it if for some reason the House did pass it.
Exactly.
We got to be realistic about that. Although, it mystifies me as to why Republicans are opposed to campaign finance reform, because Democrats have gotten as good at raising big money as they are.
Exactly.
That's one of my concerns, too, is that the Democrats used to rely more on shoe leather. Now they got pocket change and shoe leather. And I'm not talking about little change.
Right.
So, but Republicans, that used to be their domain. They had the corner on money. They don't now. It would make sense for them to also get on board. And it looks to me, from what I've seen in other states, in Maine and Arizona in particular, who've been at it the longest, there are plenty of Republicans who like that system. Who embrace it, who use it in their own campaigns.
Right. Almost 90% of Maine's legislature, which is actually Republican-led right now, use the public financing system there over the last several cycles.
How many, 90%?
90%. Of candidates. So, that's showing great popularity with both elected officials, with candidates, and with the voting public.
So despite the implicit limitation on money that comes with a voluntary public financing system, those candidates are still winning.
Exactly.
90% of the legislature in Maine got elected with that system.
That's right.
That's something. That's impressive.
It is.
Yeah.
It shows the system's working. Now, of course, over the last couple of years, budgets were hit hard. But here in Iowa, right now, we've got a surplus. We've got the money. And at Iowa CCI, we always like to say, rather than having the best democracy money could buy, isn't it worth investing a little bit to make sure that we have clean elections?
Well, and years ago, too, when Pam Yoakum was working on this back in the mid-2000s, I was still in the House, too. The mechanism for funding the voluntary public financing system was a certain amount of it came from the candidates themselves. Some of it came from fines, and the bulk of it came from uncollected property that was basically lost. I was amazed at how much Iowans have lost that cannot be reclaimed. I mean, they can't. The treasurer's office tries to find who owns all these things. And he can't, to the tune of $15 million a year. It's kind of remarkable. I wish I could lose $15 million a year. Anyway, I love that. So and maybe that's still one of the mechanisms for financing it.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Unclaimed properties over the last couple of years. You're right, $10 to $15 million. Folks are familiar with the Great Iowa Treasure Hunt. That's money that is found money. So that's a very legitimate funding source for this.
Folks, 244-0077, again, the number to call. We're talking with Adam Mason with Iowa Citizens for Community Improvement about the clean elections law working its way through the Iowa Senate. Give us a shout at 244-0077 if you'd like to weigh in. Again, later in the program, Bradshaw and I will be talking about the State of the Union address. You're welcome to join that conversation as well. But let's go to Ron on line 1. Ron, welcome to the show.
Hiya, Ed. We are dust, and to dust we shall return.
Is this Frank or Ron?
This is Ron.
Okay.
I thought we were going to talk. I wanted to talk about the State of the Union.
Oh, we're going to do that. You're a little bit ahead of the curve. I thought, I'm sorry. You know, when I put my glasses on, then I can see that it doesn't say campaign finance, it's the State of the Union. But I tell you what, Ron, I'll put you back on hold, and we'll be back onto that conversation soon if you like.
When's that going to happen?
In about 5 minutes.
All right.
All right. Thanks. So, Adam, again, what people can do right now, it's Senate Study Bill 1072.
That's correct.
And it has passed has passed subcommittee.
No, it has not. It has not come out.
Okay.
Right. Senator Danielson and Senator Yoakum will be holding another subcommittee where we're going to look at amendments. As you were mentioning, the funding system for keeping candidates competitive has been under attack. It's because clean elections work so well, and those special interests, big corporations out there know that. They want to keep their influence, and so they've been attacking clean elections in the courts.
Sure.
So we're going to be making some amendments to the bill to keep it constitutional. We're going to review those amendments in another subcommittee. I'll keep you and you can keep your listeners posted on when that is.
Do you happen to know what lobbyists are registered against the bill?
Right now, I think you might remember Marty Ryan, formerly of the ACLU, now on behalf of his own law firm, is opposed to it. He still believes that.
I love Marty, but that makes no sense to me.
Right. Still believes that money is free speech and that this would limit free speech of big corporations.
He's been reading too many Des Moines Register editorials.
That's right.
Or reading them and believing them. I read them and know where they're coming from, and that's really to equate money with speech is it's like I'm bubbling with analogies, and I'm not going to go to any of them.
Right.
All right. So keep us posted on that, Adam.
I will do that.
And if folks, do you have any more events, lobby days planned in the near future?
We do, actually. On February 26th, it's a Tuesday, 2 weeks, we'll be up at the Capitol. We're calling it kind of our first funnel push. The clock is ticking. The first funnel date when legislation must come out of its first committee is March 8th. And so we'll be up there a week before that to make sure that all of our priority legislation gets out of committees.
All right, great. Thank you so much for joining us, Adam. Folks, if you want to get in touch with CCI, who's doing yeoman's work on this issue, I'm sure they're online at iowacci.org. Is that correct?
That's right.
All right, iowacci.org. Hey, I want to thank Gateway Market for sponsoring this segment of our show. I've had 2 meals at Gateway already this week, and if I have a third, it won't be a bad thing. Also, in addition to the cafe, of course, for breakfast, lunch, and supper, they've got a fantastic grocery store, and it's usually packed with people right about the time you get off work. So if you're like me and you don't like to be bumping your carriage into other people, pick another time. But the point is, it's a busy place for a reason. They've got great products, a lot of it from local sources at affordable prices. And one of my favorites, 200 selections of cheese. I mean, I've not yet tried all their cheese, but if I live long enough, I might. Anyway, folks, check them out. That's Gateway Market and Cafe at 20th and Woodland. Keep your dollars local when you go grocery shopping, and stay tuned because we're going to talk with Bradshaw in a minute. We'll have Ron back on the show as well. And if you want to call 244-0077, we're going to talk about the State of the Union address.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
of a new era begins.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day one of webcast1live.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait. Howdy. And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live. Someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together. And we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com.
I can't tell you that it's going real well from time to time, but it is going, man.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
That would be Mr. Baber's Neighbors, and that tune would be Ode Jones, bringing us back to our conversation here on the Fallon Forum. I want to thank, in addition to Baber's Neighbors, I want to thank Community CPA and Associates for sponsoring this segment of our show. I want to welcome Ron Yarnell to the program. Ron, are you with us?
Yeah, I am. Let me pull over here. Okay.
Pull over.
I'm just.
Are you driving or biking?
I'm driving. So anyway, just wanted to make the one big comment I wanted to make was on the minimum wage raise proposal.
Yeah.
And okay, fine, whatever. But you know what?
When Obama talked about $9 an hour?
Well, yeah, it's like, okay, that makes poverty a bit more sufferable. But you know what needs to happen, and I don't know if this is even realistic, but you can't depend on the elites, on rich people, on the upper 1% to give you stuff because it's not in their interest to do so.
Well, actually, it isn't. It is in their interest, but they don't realize it. They don't realize.
Have a lot of fun. Have a lot of fun trying to talk them into it because.
Oh, yeah, I know it is. It's
fine. They're doing fine. They're doing great. I mean, the world is like a wonderful place.
But in the long run, it is in the best interest of the wealthy to do more for those who are less well off, because that's how revolutions start. You know, if it gets bad enough and you get hungry enough, that's when the pitchforks and torches come out.
Okay, and that's how come I made my comment, because of what today is. We are dust, and to dust we shall return. They don't care, okay? They're going to die. All they care about is that maybe their kids don't have to can live lives of idle leisure. They're not thinking long term. They don't care about long term. My point is, if working class people, if poor people aren't prepared to take what's rightfully theirs, they're not going to get it from the upper class.
And how do we take what is rightfully ours?
Well, that's the thing with the State of the Union thing. Okay. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can go back to the 1930s. All right. We can go back to the New Deal. We can go back to making it easier for working people to organize themselves, to engage in collective bargaining. A big help would be real universal health care.
Okay, but just to stop on the union issue, you're talking about making it easier for folks to organize unions to help represent their interests. That's
you know what?
yeah, it's
Organize
good.
anything you want if you can organize unions. But you know what? Rich people are organized. They call them the Chamber of Commerce. Professionals are organized. They're called the AMA and the American Bar Association. Everyone who's successful organizes. That's just the way the world works.
Farmers have the Farm Bureau. Oh, wait, that's an insurance company. Sorry.
Yeah, but poor people and working class people are told, "Oh, you don't want to do this. This would be a bad thing." It's like that's like the greatest con of the century.
So you're saying you're saying you would have liked to have seen Obama focus less on the minimum wage and more on the importance of making it easy for unions for people to organize a union.
I would like to have Obama focus on who's the real vital engine of society. It ain't the rich folks. It's not even altogether the middle class. It's working class folks, poor folks who want to make it to the middle class. Make their way easier instead of making it tougher, which has been going on for the last 40 years. And then you're going to revive the economy.
Ron, I want to ask you about the Obama's positions on foreign policy, but let me also bring climate change into the mix here. I had mixed feelings about what he had to say on climate change. But overall, I was pleased that he was taking it so seriously. He said, quote, dangerous carbon emissions he said dangerous carbon emissions had fallen, and that's one of the things I took exception with. I wasn't sure that was the case. That does not seem consistent with what I'm hearing from the folks who are advocating for reform on this. He also talked about the importance of believing science and acting before it's too late. He talked about pursuing market-based solutions to climate change. Again, I don't know if that sounds like cap and trade to me, which I'm not overly excited about. And I like the kind of determination he expressed when he said, if Congress won't act, I will direct my administration to take certain steps. He didn't specify what those steps were, but I thought that was kind of gutsy on his part. So I don't know. Then he also talked about how proud he was of having opened up more oil drilling opportunities, and how America produces more oil than it did before he took office. So, to me, even the climate change thing was a mixed bag. And your thoughts on that? And shortly here, Bradshaw will be joining us, so maybe we'll have his voice in that question as well. But Ron, what are your thoughts on the climate change element of the speech?
Well, first of all, I was listening yesterday. I was driving. I drive a lot, you know that, and I was listening to on the satellite radio. I was listening to blue collar radio. And you know what? Climate change is a source of humor for the blue collar radio laugh crowd. It's like
say that again.
It's a source of humor and mirth.
Humor.
Yeah, it's like people, comedians on the blue collar channel make fun of the idea of climate change. That indicates a little bit of a problem.
Well, but and the truth is, to anybody who is really thinking, it looks really dumb. I mean, because the science is in on this. This is not. We shouldn't be debating this any more than we're debating whether the world is flat. But
all right.
So,
but here's the thing, Ed. I mean, they've spent the other team has spent decades now marginalizing scientific opinion.
Right.
Okay, they pretty much effectively won that debate
when they want
but
to. Right.
But you know what they can't win? They can't win the free market, the economic debate. Okay, countries that are concerned with climate change and are supporting startup industries, Germany for one, they're rocking and rolling. They're moving it. Denmark is little Denmark, this little country in northern Europe, is a world leader in wind-produced energy.
Yeah.
All right. They're not messing. This is economic building. This stuff improves standards of living.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I heard the other day someone said, well, we can't have it like Germany because Germany gets more sun.
Then where? Washington State?
Yeah, well, the only part of the United States that gets Germany gets that Alaska gets less sun than Germany does.
Right.
The United States gets a lot of sun energy. So first of all, they're just lying. I mean, they're just they just don't. It's just like people stuck in the mud. They're entrenched interests. They don't want to budge. It has nothing to do with socialism versus capitalism. It has to do with a startup capitalism that's going to revolutionize our lives.
It has to do with preserving the status quo against progress.
It has to do with 19th century interests not willing to accommodate the 21st century.
Folks, we're talking about the State of the Union address. Sort of. We've kind of run a little bit afield here, but I want to get back to the main focus there. Ron Yarnell's on the phone with us. You're welcome to join the conversation on the phone as well. 244.
The other part.
Well, hang on, Ron. Hang on. 244-0077. 244-0077. And I did want to. Bradshaw's with us in the studio. I wanted to give Bradshaw a chance to jump in on this as well. Welcome.
That was a great night.
What did you do? What did you do last night that was so great?
I kept myself hydrated.
Okay.
There's the list of things that you just don't do in politics. When someone says, hey, would you like to get in a tank? What do you say? No.
Yes, I'm Michael Dukakis. I can hardly wait.
When someone says, hey, Mark Foley called, was looking for your nephew's contact info, you say, no. And when someone asks you to give the response to the State of the Union, you say no. I thought Republicans had learned this lesson.
If you're going to tank up on water, you do it ahead of time.
I thought they had learned this lesson with Bobby Jindal. Remember when he gave the State of the Union response, he was seen as an up-and-comer. He was seen as, a real presidential...
Well, I think he still is.
No.
Well?
And I think Marco Rubio, the latest savior, got hit.
Well, that leaves Chris Christie.
Pretty much, and Rick Santorum. But
Rick Santorum.
It's funny, all the talk of Watergate. I don't know if there's a name for this, but all the talk about this overshadows. If you listen to what he actually said, like I did between full-on guffaws, because Schadenfreude is legitimate. There was nothing in there that we haven't heard on the Sean Hannity show for the last 3 months. It was everything from the president hates the free market, and even just to show you that this GOP kind of schism. Martin Luther Rand Paul, giving the Tea Party response again, spent a long time saying absolutely nothing there. And I know the GOP right now is a party with some systemic flaws, and some serious issues. But I think people underestimate, how deep those issues go. I mean, short of a list of talking points, what do they have? And you see legislative examples of it too. And John Boehner, his only response seems to be these days is the Senate needs to act. The Senate needs to act, because there's nothing coming out of the House.
His response seems to be to look really grumpy.
Didn't look happy.
But let's. I want to talk more about some of the broader themes, Bradshaw. But
it was a great State of the Union address.
Ron's got to run. I don't want you to run off the road either, Ron. But real quick, I know you're a foreign policy follower. Real quick, Obama on foreign policy in the State of the Union. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
I'm not. I didn't really listen to that intent. What he definitely shouldn't do is, I was listening to. I made a mistake yesterday of listening to Fox News, and apparently they think we should get tougher with North Korea and China. They think that's a good idea. And,
Getting tougher.
And my idea is, you know what? The less wars that you have to fight, that probably does more for your deficit spending and your government reduction than anything else.
When you say get tough with China, you mean the people who make these flags?
Well,
made in China?
There's all this stuff about North Korea seeking nuclear weapons, and I understand that because North Korea has figured out that if you got a nuke, the U.S. will leave you alone. They're not dumb over there, but of course they're an ally of China, and China tells the U.S. hands off. Well, okay, it's a problem. But to get bellicose, to get tough, quote unquote, to get aggressive with these countries, I don't know exactly what these people are talking about when they're talking about reducing government, reducing spending, because you know what? Conflict is expensive and it grows government.
Yep.
But it funnels money to the right hands, so therefore it must be encouraged.
Ron,
this literally goes back to the People for the New American Century in the mid-'90s.
Ron, thanks for the call, Ron. I've got to run to a break. Appreciate it.
All
Drive
right.
safe. Do not end up in a ditch. We don't want to read about Ron in a ditch. Well, okay.
Right.
I think we have one person in the studio who does want you to, but it's not Bradshaw.
If you see Frank walking in the ditch, though, swerve.
All right. Thanks, Ron.
Right.
So, Bradshaw, again, you think it was a great speech?
I think it was. It was a domestic speech. Most definitely ties in with the whole, it's time to do some nation building at home. That was, kind of the core of the campaign. And I think the president belatedly has figured out there is no win, there is nothing to gain by going along with obstruction. So you need to put Republicans between rocks and hard places. You propose generally popular, legislation, and you stick the Republican Party smack dab between reality and its base. Yeah. And this, the
providing there is a significant gap between those two.
There is,
and I would concur. But no, Obama's talk on Afghanistan. He's always been the anti-war candidate and president.
Not when it came to Afghanistan.
He
ran on.
Even his messaging on Afghanistan back in 2007 was, "I'm going to end the war in Iraq and redeploy those troops to Afghanistan." It was never. The focus was on ending the war in Iraq, redeployment, which was a strange word that people didn't really think hard enough about, with an afterthought about Afghanistan. So yeah, all along we knew he was going to do that.
He ran on surging in Afghanistan, and he did that.
But it wasn't the focus of his foreign policy. It was kind of like
it was pretty
I'm
blatant.
the anti-war candidate. Iraq,
well,
bad
that's
news.
that's the kind of caricature though that you get from the right. He was very blatant, repeatedly through his first campaign about a build-up in Afghanistan.
But again, it was always couched in terms of how winding down the war in Iraq.
He was lucky enough to not be in the Senate at the time of the Iraq War vote, and certainly used that to his advantage.
I got to run to a break, but let's talk about the speech when we come back. You referenced it as a heck of a state. I don't know what was your exact word, but you said it was a very good State of the Union address. My opinion would be probably a little bit less warm and fuzzy, but let's talk about that when we come back. And folks, if you'd like to join the conversation, it's 244-0077 or toll-free 855-244-0077. I would like to thank Community CPA and Associates for sponsoring this segment of our show. Community CPA, folks, give them a shout at 288-3188, 288-3188, because tax season is upon us. You need to get your ducks in a row, and they will do a fantastic job. I've been hearing about friends and other businesses that are being audited, and I tell you what, if you had somebody good doing your books, really, really good, that ain't going to happen. Ying Sa, who founded the company, is really good, and one reason you know that is her firm is now the 15th largest in the nation, in the state. Sorry, not the nation. So give her a shout at 288-3188 and tell her I sent you, and thank them for supporting the Fallon Forum. We'll be back in a minute.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Community CPA is the 15th largest CPA firm in Iowa, providing audit, tax, and accounting services. Community CPA specializes in international tax treaty and double taxation avoidance among countries and states. 9 dedicated, experienced, hardworking staff are the company's foundation, and their compassion towards every client is the secret behind Community CPA's success. At Community CPA, you can expect quality service year-round. Call 288-3188. Community CPA, 3816 Ingersoll. Experience the difference.
Since 1994, Sid's Catering has graced Des Moines area events with quality service and rave reviews. Owner Sid Cohn's culinary career began with a Northeast Iowa vacation home for international clientele. Sid earned a Bachelor of Science in Hotel Restaurant Management and was the assistant clubhouse manager at Des Moines Golf and Country Club. Sid has a passion for fresh, local products and offers a wide range of options, including vegan, gluten-free, and ethnic. Mention the Fallon Forum when you book your breakfast or lunch event and get 10% off. Contact Sid's Catering at 208-2091. That's Sid's Catering at 208-2091.
This is Dr. Holding, the Story County Veterinary Clinic. For 15 years, we have been spaying and neutering feral cat groups at affordable prices. Wild cats destroy game birds and songbirds. A single female cat can produce over 4,000 kittens in 7 years. The shelters are full, so unwanted kittens will be put to sleep. Your cats will stay home and stay healthy. Call us for all your dog and cat needs at the Story County Veterinary Clinic between Ames and Nevada on Highway 30, 1 mile east of Interstate 35, 515-232-8766.
It's time to think about upgrading the efficiency of your furnace and air conditioner. Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling has provided honest, competent service for over 20 years. Whether it's your home or business, for repair work or to install a more energy-efficient furnace or air conditioner, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422. That's 263-0422. For honest, competent heating and cooling service, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422.
Nestled in the heart of downtown, Ritual Cafe is one of Des Moines' most unique places, offering a wide variety of coffee and tea. Ritual Cafe also serves the only all-vegetarian menu in town. And Ritual Cafe is a cultural hub for artists and musicians, with a performance stage hosting local, national, and international talent. Make Ritual Cafe a part of your daily ritual. On 13th Street between Locust and Grand in downtown Des Moines. And check out ritualcafe.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
No. Even if it's way too loud.
Max Wellman.
Oh.
You know, Max is giving
Of the Boston Wellmans?
No, the Des Moines Wellmans. In fact, Max's trio is giving 2 concerts tomorrow night, Valentine's Day. And you really should, if you cared about Jen, you would be there with her at one of those concerts.
Yeah, but I don't, so we're cool.
What?
Nothing.
Nothing?
We joke, we kid, we try to be funny.
I
get some nice lobster tails for
lobster
tomorrow.
tails?
Is that, yeah.
Okay, is that what you're going to do? Have lobster tails?
One for me, one for her, one for the dog. Taught him to eat off a fork.
Teaching the dog to eat off a fork?
He sits at the table. It's very nice. He can eat corn on the cob and ribs.
Can you put a picture of that on Facebook or Twitter one if you want? Tweet one?
Maybe. You
Okay.
should see my dog eat corn, though. It is pretty interesting. He just works down the...
He goes down the cob like.
Well,
the
you
rest
eat the
of
sweet
us do.
corn, then you leave 2 or 3 rows.
Does he roll it in butter first with his
No,
little paws?
you gotta prepare.
Roll it in butter.
You gotta prepare. But then he just kind of goes down the side. It's pretty interesting to watch, and he's good with ribs.
Okay, I bet he is. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, enough of that talk.
Well trained.
State of the Union. State of your dog Vader.
The state of our union is bitchin'.
Well, it's improving, I suppose.
Yeah,
by some standards, but
and I think last night,
but who really is getting better? You know, who's doing better out there?
Well, corporate America, those
yeah,
with capital.
they're doing much better.
That's and again, I'm a little more pragmatic, I think, than you are.
Oh, I don't know. You have a Cubs hat on.
We all have our vices. Hey,
that's not vice. That's a lack of pragmatism.
Baseball
anyway.
is back.
Yeah, but
I understand.
Cubs have already been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs.
Hey, you know what? We may be decent this year. Not good by any means, but respectable.
Yeah, well,
it's part of a 5-year plan. In Theo, we trust.
If they put baseball in the Olympics, where they took wrestling out, we'll expect
wrestling's been all downhill since they started letting the participants wear clothing. I mean, if you're going to go that route, now if they really want to make heads explode, add professional wrestling to the Olympics.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Elf boots, feather boas, you name it.
Right. Bashing chairs on your opponent's head.
Exactly.
All good.
Cage matches.
All right. Anyway, enough of that. But the speech, you thought it was good.
I did. I think he did a very good job. It was a very calculated speech.
So
again, meant to highlight the
does not mean
differences. Well, no, I mean, not necessarily, but in this case,
I mean, you're right
good.
about
you have to deal with the realism, and that is you have a fractured Republican Party that can't, really push anything other than wingnutty bills on their own. You wanna pass an abortion ban for the immigration. ICE. They literally banned ICE from spending money on abortions, and the fact that ICE had never spent a single dime
I didn't know
on
they had.
them.
All right.
Be damned. This is good red meat to throw to the base, but for anything
it's a form
else,
of contraception, I guess.
Yeah, but for anything else, again, you kind of have the wingnut section of the party. And this is why we see the Karl Roves of the world looking to remain relevant by trying to pretty much play Orkin man for the U.S. Senate.
Well,
and what didn't get much attention, you see Haley Barbour yesterday.
No.
Another GOP bigwig with a better, we're using relative terms here, track record than Karl Rove, came out against the Club for Growth. Club for Growth has been an excellent incubator for wingnuts and moonbats and these primary candidates.
And that is the Republican Party's problem. But back to Obama. Again, I thought it was, and I watched the speech at Tally's restaurant up in Beaverdale, which is
excellent plug.
It was but it was a great place to watch it. It was a huge crowd, but it was a little bit distracting at times because there were so many people. So I might have missed a few things. My overall impression, again, great speech. I mean, Obama gives one of the best speeches you've ever heard a politician deliver. But content-wise, again, I don't remember. I was really hoping he would confront the drone issue. And all I heard him say basically was that he kind of implied they've tried to be open with Congress. Well, that's a lie. I'm sorry. They've not been open with Congress or the general public. We've seen a level of secrecy when it comes to the use of drones in foreign policy that is unprecedented. And that, there are Republicans who say, you were criticizing George Bush when he did these things, but how come we don't hear people criticizing Obama? Well, I mean, some of us are, but a lot of people aren't. A lot of people are withholding their critique because it's a Democratic president. I think that's a legitimate
I think Republicans have a hard time understanding a party that doesn't march in lockstep. They've spent the last how many years now, being told by the same sources, what their outrage du jour is, what they're to be angry about. And when the right picks something, Rush is on it, Hannity's on it, Levin's on it, Huckabee's on it, Fox Nation is on it.
So that's not a coincidence.
I don't think they can fathom, though, yes, some liberals are aghast by this. Some aren't,
I mean,
is it an egregious abuse of constitutional power? Yes. Is it what Republicans spent the years 2004 through pretty much 2008 arguing was necessary and demanded, and if you were against it, you were obviously pro-terrorist when it came to rendition, waterboarding, warrantless wiretaps.
But on those issues, I mean, those are the two issues that, in particular, and there are others too, but they're the two issues in particular that a lot of folks on the political left are very disenchanted with Obama on. Foreign policy, again, drones in particular, maybe you could throw Guantanamo into that conversation, and then on the issue of things like the Patriot Act and detention provisions and this loss of civil liberties that Ron Paul types and the ACLU types have all challenged. And he, I think it would have been a losing proposition to address those things in his State of the Union address. But I mean, at least he should have been more honest with us about it. I mean, to say that you've been open with Congress, I think is a lie. I think to say that he, that he's been. I can't remember how he put it now, but basically, he's not being straight with us about these things.
Open is a variable term.
Yeah, I know.
For example, Governor Branstad is open to different ideas. He won't implement them or listen to them, but he's open to them. That's sort of open. No, look, I understand and completely, get criticism over the president's drone program. I also understand, to a degree, the folks who say, yeah, you know what, this is what we have to do, and if you have a better plan, feel free to bring it up. What I don't get is the Republican opposition, because this is exactly what they asked for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I'm almost surprised they.
But, I mean,
had,
if you're looking for a value judgment, I mean, short of another seismic event, and think whatever you want about 9/11, the whole universe of opinion.
When you say think
reaction.
whatever you want, are you
no,
saying,
not the truthers.
Okay, I was going to say where you were going with that.
No, but to some, it fundamentally changed the way we do things. I think that's a little bit of letting the terrorists win, but neither here nor there. If you believe that the game changed, not necessarily for the better, for 9/11, after 9/11, which I agree with, then this is the natural response. There's probably a better way of phrasing that.
Predictable response.
And short of another seismic event, another fork in the road, this is unfortunately the way it's going to be. And whether you have Barack Obama in the White House, whether you have John McCain, Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, Bobby the Exorcist Jindal, Rick Santorum.
Don't forget Sarah Palin.
Dropping sweater vests from 30,000 feet. This, I offer no value judgment, good or bad. That's up to the individual, but this is how it is. Republicans demanded that the Nixon's law be codified. If the president does it, it's not illegal. If you can get the president's lawyer to write a letter, all right, shout out to John Yoo. If you can get the president's lawyer to write a letter offering a justification, that's all it takes.
Well, Bradshaw, I have to run, and again, we'll see. I think the part of the speech that interested me most was the references to climate change and to getting tough if Congress refuses to do anything, to using his position as the in charge of the administration.
I think
that's encouraging.
You're going to see a lot of political jujitsu over the next year and a half or so, as looking for ways to use the Republican base against them.
Well, and the real key, the linchpin on climate change for Obama, the absolute test will be one that we will see soon. What will he discontinue any efforts to pursue the Keystone Pipeline? That is going to be that will send the message loud and clear to the folks who are, as we speak, organizing this protest in Washington D.C. on the 17th. Or it'll send a message.
I wouldn't put money either way on.
Well, it's going to go one way or the other.
I pick 'em, I think, is the.
So you don't have a feel for it, yeah.
The response to that one. I mean, look, Obama is a corporatist Democrat. He's not some. I wish he was the flaming liberal that Fox News portrays him as. We'd be in a better position nationally.
I thought he was a socialist, communist, fascist.
I'm still waiting to hear a good explanation of what a Kenyan anti-colonial is, other than hate whitey in code.
All right, I got to wrap it up. Bradshaw, you're going to be back at 1:30 for more conversation, I assume, on the State of the Union. Anything else?
State of the Union. We got to have again the response.
Rubio.
Again, not just how it was delivered.
The quantities of water consumed
as someone who is
it?
capable of talking for 10 minutes without needing to chug the Aqua Buddha. It's a little odd, but it really is a place, I think, where presidential ambitions go. I
can kind of relate. I mean, talking gives me a drinking problem as well. But
again, it's our job at home to play the State of the Union drinking game. Those on camera should refrain.
Right. Folks, thanks, Bradshaw, for joining us. On the climate issue, this coming Friday, that's 2 days from now, February 15th at 9 in the morning, a group, kind of a loose collective of folks known as climate advocates will meet outside Congressman Tom Latham's office. He's no longer in the federal building. He's at 2700 Grand Ave. That's just up the road from downtown Des Moines. They're delivering letters, postcards, and petitions to Latham's staff in support of climate action. The media has been invited, and folks, you're invited as well. They will proceed from there to the actual federal building at 210 Walnut Street to deliver additional letters to Senators Grassley and Harkin. That's going to be this coming Friday at 9 a.m. I want to thank Hawk Restaurant for sponsoring this segment of the show. I had lunch at Hawk yesterday, and again, folks, fantastic restaurant using 90% of its food from local sources. Delicious, sustainable farm-to-table dining in the historic East Village of Des Moines. The menu evolves almost daily to showcase what is happening in that season here in Iowa's agricultural economy. The owners believe that the best ingredients, the best meals begin with the best ingredients, and the ingredients, again, 90% of those are from local farms, featuring grass-fed beef and lamb, also pasture-raised chicken and duck, and again, plenty of vegetables and fruits, maybe less this time of the year, but still, even this time of the year, I'm impressed with how much they're able to source from local places in the realm of vegetables. So check them out, folks. That's Hawk Restaurant at East 5th and Walnut.
Any relation to Andre Dawson?
I doubt it.
But, disappointing, but I should still check them out.
But a weird question. We expect that from you.
The Hawk.
The Hawk. H-O-Q. H-O-Q.
No.
Hawk. Anyway.
Number 8.
Tomorrow, folks, Mary Beth Gardam with
year
Move to Amend is going to talk with us. We're also going to talk with Nakisha Phillips about the difference between a doula and a midwife. Friday, Dr. Charles Goldman and I are going to argue over whether media violence is connected to America's gun violence problem. I have a feeling, Bradshaw, you're also on the wrong side of that issue because I feel it is a problem.
Well, you're wrong.
Okay, you see? Also,
see, that was an easy discussion.
Heather Ryan will be back Friday with Ryan's Rants, and we'll also talk with Deb Bunka, who's active with KHOI 89.1 FM up in Ames, and they have an event coming up this Friday, folks, from 5 to 9 p.m. at their office on Douglas Street in downtown Ames. Should be a good event to help promote the station and also to help generate some funds toward keeping them moving forward. All right, I want to thank Webcast One Live for providing the studio for this program. I want to thank Maddie Arrington, my producer. I want to thank the folks who took the time to listen, watch, call in. I will be back tomorrow at noon, folks. Thanks for tuning into the Fallon Forum.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershot.
I'm administrative manager.
I'm the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed rider it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed rider, it's free or 100% money back.
Enough said.